Hello and welcome to Mayhem with your host, May.
Hello. I just wanted to come here real quick and talk to you about a book that I just finished. It took me over a year to read, but that's not because it wasn't a good book. It's because I had to put it down for a while. Because if you guys know me at all, you know that I am a hardcore, staunch feminist. I believe that women have every right that men do. And I have a really hard time seeing things and reading things that hold women in a different light than men. And this book challenged all of those ideas inside of me. I am also one of those people who is super fascinated by any fundamentalist Christian ideals. I love reading about the Quiverful movement. I love reading about sister wives. I love all of that. I love studying all of that. And so this book kind of challenged the notions, but at the same time, Rachel Held Evans is a feminist herself. And she believes in equality between men and women. And at the same time that she wrote this book, which is called A Year of Biblical Womanhood, she challenged all those ideas to the point where she lived in a tent when she was on her period, because in the Deuteronomy or Numbers or somewhere in there, it says that men cannot touch their wives when they are bleeding. She went on a silence weekend with monks in Alabama. She learned about charitable giving and about the practices of making chocolate and coffee and how you should probably buy fair trade chocolate and coffee. She, each month she had a different focus. So during the course of the year, she talked to Jewish women. She went to the Amish villages. She went to a Quaker church service. She talked to a woman who was involved in the Quiverful movement. And she did all of this with an open mind and an open heart. She also read the Bible, studied the Bible, talked all about the women in the Bible and some of the movements that men have made to make women seem less important. Like in Paul, he talks about a woman apostle. Believe it or not, there is a woman apostle. And way back when in the church, they tried to add an S to the woman's name to make it a man apostle. And it was an argument for a very long time in the church about whether this was a woman or a man. But everywhere in the scriptures and in the research and everything, this is a woman apostle. And Paul talks about. Each chapter is ended with a story about some other woman in the Bible who is a hero. And it was a beautiful book. It talked about all sorts of different fundamentalist ideas, and it talked about them with an open mind and with a heart full of research. In my life, one of the hardest things that I have ever had to try to understand is why churches and all of those things think that women or men are more spiritual and deserve the spotlight more than women. Because I was raised my biggest person in my life growing up was my Nana. She was the biggest matriarch. She was a single lady ever since I was born. She took care of herself. She was fierce. She was strong. She was powerful. She didn't need any man in her life. She never had a man. The entire time I've known her, she never talked about dating men. She never talked about being married to my grandpa. Nothing. She was fiercely independent, and she taught me what it means to be a woman. And so then in my church life, when I got older, because I grew up in the Methodist church, I loved it. But at the same time, some of their ideals didn't quite match with my ideals. And so in raising my children, I wanted to raise them with that foundation, that community, those people who all worshiped together. But I wanted to do it where they wouldn't come back to me with these ideals that I didn't put in their head because they learned it from church. I had a really weird experience before my kids were born with another little girl who would look at me and say, "You're not dressing modest," when I was in a tank top that she had learned from church. And I did not, I wanted to be really careful that I didn't take my kids to a church that left them with ideas in their head like that. So we looked for churches for a very, very long time. I went to all sorts of different kinds of churches. I would go for a month. I would go for a week. I would talk to pastors. I would talk to people about their ideals and their principles, and I never found one that I liked. I always wanted a church where the pastor moved me and made me want to be better and want to learn more. But then, I found them, but then I would go back into their church and be like, okay, well, what do you think about this? And they're like, well, we're living biblically, so we cannot do that. One that I really liked, I really love the pastor, but then I talked to his associate pastor, and I said, well, what about women? Can they lead in your church? And they're like, well, in the Bible it says women can't, so no, they can't. And I'm like, got it. So this is not a church for my family. And to this day, I haven't found a church that I appreciate and that I go to and that I, other than listening to my sister's church services, which are amazing. She's a pastor at Denver with Amazing Love Sanctuary, and she always posts her stuff on Facebook. I haven't found a church to take my family to and for my family to be a part of. And that's kind of broken my heart over the years because they're now teenagers and they're now at this age where they get to choose. They have a right to choose where they want to go and what they want to believe in, and it's no longer up to me to teach them. So I would do my best their whole life. I would sit them down. I would teach them the Bible stories as I understand them. We would take Bible verses and discuss them over dinner. We would have devotionals as a family. And I always ended up teaching them. And my ex-husband, he would ask me, he's like, well, why don't we just go to a church that has a woman pastor? And see, that's the thing about it. That's not what I wanted. I just wanted a pastor that moved me, and it didn't matter if it was a man or a woman. As long as women had the opportunity to move up in the church, that's what mattered to me. Hell, I even went to CCV for a while, and that church is gross. Anyway, talk about patriarchy. Oh. So my journey with churches and spirit and womanhood and everything has been a rough one, and I do feel like my kids didn't get the same rich experience with the churches that I did growing up, but I tried to do my best with them. All of that being said is, if I would have read her sooner, maybe I would have known better earlier. It was a beautiful book. It was well written, well researched, well thought out. And I really, really enjoyed my journey with Rachel Held Evans. I am really sad because she died last year. She had a terminal, sudden illness, and it killed her at 36. She had so much ahead of her, so much more to do. And I'm going to devour all of her other books now because I have another one, and then she has another couple. But I just wanted to share that this book spoke to me. This is not the first book that I finished this weekend, but it's certainly the one that spoke to me the most. So I just wanted to share that with you and talk about femininity. And I like to talk about down with the patriarchy all the time. I do it as a joke, but it really is very prevalent in our society, and it is very blatant if you know where to look. And I'm lucky to be working now with a company where I don't feel like patriarchy is a problem. But it's something that's always there, and it's something that unless we recognize it and call it what it is, it's never going to change. So, at the end of the book, Rachel Held Evans talks about reading the Bible, not to find the answers you're looking for, but reading the Bible to be searching. Because no matter what you're looking for, you're going to find it in the Bible. But that's not the point. The point of the Bible is to hear the honest truth. And it's really tough to do with a book as contradictory as the Bible. But if you hold your faith and you listen with an open heart, I believe that there's a lot of truth to be said in the Bible. I use the Bible myself. I research. Recently, I haven't read the Bible as much as I have in the past because I've been reading other spiritual leaders a little bit more. But maybe I'll get back into the practice. Maybe I'll go back and read Paul again. I don't know. This is just a beginning. But be on the lookout. Tisa and I have some projects in the future that we want to start. And I just wanted to say thank you and Have a great Memorial Day. Bye.